Front row, come forward a little bit so they can see who's in dance. And you're in your section, right? Okay. Dance to the rhythm of your own drum. Dance to the rhythm of your own drum. We can all be different, there's no fear or shame. Oh, but I still love you just the same. We can all be different, there's no fear or shame. Oh, but I still love you just the same. Dance to the rhythm of your own drum. Dance to the rhythm of your own drum. We can all be different, there's no fear or shame. Oh, but I still love you just the same. We can all be different, there's no fear or shame. Oh, but I still love you just the same. Dance, oh dance, just dance, oh dance, just dance. Break it down now. Dance. Dance to the rhythm. Dance to the rhythm of your own drum.
I'm distracted now.
Jenny got pink too. Rick didn't get the memo. I'd like to ask the Danville High School choir to please just stand and that as soon as we get started. So I'd like to call the Danville City Commission meeting to order tonight. Tonight is May the 13th. The time is 5:30 p.m. and we're excited about our featured guest tonight, the Danville High School choir, the choir that went to New York City without taking their city commissioners with them. So, but we're going to start off by having a moment of silence. We reflect on the things that are going on in this world of ours that are not very pleasing to our higher beings. So a moment of silence, please. Thank you all. And at this time, we're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by the Almighty Danville High School Choir.
Attention, salute, pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. We're going to now let the Danville High School Choir sing again officially now that we've started our meeting. And then when you young folks finish singing, don't go anywhere, just stay in place and we're going to do some special things for you or some special things to you. So, okay? And you have a choir member whose last name is Carpenter, and while you're singing, she's going to think about how the mayor is going to embarrass her. So y'all just sit tight, okay? So, Ms. Gray, you want to give us a couple of selections?
Yeah, we're going to share, while they're getting their music, Mayor Atkins asked us to share one of the songs that at least something from the time we were in New York City, singing Carnegie Hall. And I just wanted to explain it. It's a little
Earl, I heard you're supposed to do a couple of selections now. You're supposed to do a couple of selections.
Mayor Atkins, I forgot to invite them to the concert. Our concert's Friday night.
Oh,
7 o'clock. It's called Spring Sing.
so the Danville High School Spring Concert is this coming Friday night at 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock, and there's ice cream afterwards.
At Gravely Hall at Danville High School, and free ice cream for all those who attend. Wow, okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right, appreciate that. All right. Do I get, what's this? Thank you all for coming. As we continue our business, I'd like to ask for approval of the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve our agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. All those in favor of approving our agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. We're at that stage where we hear from the public about items that are on our agenda at this point. Is there anyone who wants to speak to the commission about an item that is on the agenda?
Not me.
Okay, Ms. Ashley. All right, thank you. Hearing none, let's move right along then. So let's go straight to item number 2, introduction of our community behavioral health specialist. Mr. Rogers and Mr. Dunn, you all want to take the podium there? Share a little bit of information about what you're doing?
Yes.
So we're appreciative of that.
Oh, we're very glad to be here today too, and so grateful, I guess, too, for our entry when we came in and the choir singing. And I tell you, God is always right on time. And
All right.
you know, one of the cases we just left was pretty difficult today, so that was much needed. What we just heard, really. So my name is Terry Dunn. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator. I work with Boyle County Emergency Medical Service, and I originally had came in to this position through a grant through the University of Kentucky, the Healing Initiative Study. Came in, our Boyle County Fiscal Court felt like it was a much-needed position here in the community. They saw the results that we were making, and so they created a position for me here in Boyle County. And as a result, you know, I was looking into a lot of substance use disorder cases. That was the whole purpose of the grant, was to focus on the opioid epidemic. And so as I kind of got into a lot of those cases, we started seeing a lot of mental health related cases. In some instances, they were interrelated with substance use, but there were a lot just kind of standing on their own, individuals that experience issues with anxiety and depression, a lot of bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. We started seeing a lot of those type cases. And so our director, EMS director, Mike Rogers, he applied for another grant. And we received that grant. And this one is focused on the mental health. And I'm going to let Mark Smith, who we hired on as our behavioral health specialist here, I'm going to let him talk a little bit about that program.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, Mark.
All right, good evening. So I'll just kind of give you a little background. Previously, I worked with hospice for about 5 years as a social worker there. Before that, I'm ex-military, did 8 years in the Marines and served in the Iraq conflict. But now I'm at EMS. I've been there for about a month and a half. I'm probably the newest member there. With the grant, currently we're still working on a few things to get it up and running by possibly July 1st. We have some crisis intervention training coming up. Our main objective is to get out there on the streets and meet these people and try to basically, I'm going to put it the right way, so we don't have to, when these people are in crisis, we don't have to take them to a hospital or incarcerate them. We want to try to get out there and see if we can't meet them where they're at and point them to the right resources. I know we have a small team right now, but that's our main goal. We plan to build on the team, and we're making pretty good headway with the progress and the milestones right now. So,
Good, good.
yes, sir.
Any questions from the commission?
How do people are referred to you, or cases are referred to you, or how do you all? how does
Yes,
that work?
we, most of the time we go out, and Terry can tell you more, he's been doing it longer than me, but we go out in real time if cases, crisis, mental health crisis happen. In real time, we'll go out with with EMS when they dispatch us and go talk with them and try to point them to resources in the community.
Okay, so anytime EMS rolls, you guys do pretty much, or?
Yeah, and basically that is how we really get all of our referrals is through our EMS software. But we go over a kind of a typical day when we come in. Like for instance, today is Monday. We came in this morning. We went all the way back to the run sheets, the actual written run sheets from Friday, from when we left. And we'll go through and look at the descriptions, and then we'll go through and kind of look into the software. A lot of times individuals, it's kind of one of the things with the EMS, they've been great about it. A lot of times we'll even get notes left behind, or we'll have EMS personnel come up and say, hey, you all may want to check on this case. But we kind of go through the cases pretty meticulously to try to find out if there's a situation we need to look into. And I'll give you an example. One of the ones that I used to miss in the beginning involving substance use, a lot of times the case may say chest pain. That may be the description. But once we get to digging and kind of looking into it, we may see a lot of substance use or misuse going on in those type of situations. But the other aspect of this program with the mental health piece, and we think that it's really going to add a significant uptick to our caseload, is that we have been coordinating with dispatch. And we're still in the process of that. We have ongoing meetings with them. But the goal is, and the plan is, for dispatch to actually tone us out to specific cases that may meet the specific criteria. And our hopes is to, of course, help the Danville Police Department to not to have so many calls. Perhaps there's some calls where it may not be of a violent nature, and in certain type of calls that dispatch can send us out to, which would save our city police officers a lot of time and effort, and sheriff's office as well. So that's kind of the plan, what we're hoping that's gonna work and stick. I think we've got a meeting with dispatch coming up this week or early next week, I think. So.
Any other questions or comments? Well, Mr. Dunn, I want to tell you thanks, and Mr. Smith, I'm going to tell you thanks. You guys, I know Mark's been doing some real good, not Mark, Terry's been doing some real good work, and we just anticipated and continuing and getting more in volume. The one thing about the work that you guys do is very much appreciated, and I always say the goal is to work yourself out of a job, but I know that's never going to happen. But it's just like police work, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I brought that up. Our numbers, and I don't have the specifics in front of me, but our substance misuse cases were down drastically for the month of April. We had like a total of, I want to say 5 or 6, and that is. Yeah. That's set a record since I've been here. I've been here almost 2 years. So, we just hope what we're doing in the community is helping. We're pushing Narcan, a lot of Narcan out in the community. That's kind of part of our process when we go out to to those cases that might involve substance use. So we're just hoping to make a dent into it. And yeah, if I work myself out of a job, it'll be all right. Maybe I'll just jump over and I'll help Mark out. So I'm going to continue on looking into the substance use cases. I'll be working with Mark as well, but Mark's going to focus on the mental health side, and he is also going to be paired up with a paramedic. They call it a paramedicine team. And so that is the plan that we've got moving forward. We got to get him a vehicle and get him all lined out, but we're on pretty good course right now to be up and going by July 1st.
Well, that's great.
So,
Mayor, you made me think of a question, if you don't mind, real quick. You're getting a lot of your referrals from EMS, and certainly Boyle County is funding you. Do you get calls from the sheriff's department or our police department? And
did you ask, do we?
yes,
Well, that as of right now, we don't. We've had a few here and there that they've kind of asked us to look into, but that's one of the things we're hoping to see that is going to change once dispatch gets involved fully and starts toning us out specifically to handle some type of crisis situation. We do anticipate that'll be a very important part of how we are proceeding, and we expect to see a big uptick in our numbers of how many calls we're going out and seeing. Right now, we probably average about anywhere from about 30 to 45 cases a month that we're looking into, and that's mental health and substance use cases. So we're expecting that to climb. I know Chief Gray, he gave us an example. He said that on his first call he ever went on, before he was chief, of course, but it was a mother that couldn't make her child get up and go to school. She couldn't do it. And so when Tony got in there, he took charge and helped the child get to school on time. But, those are, he gave us an example as something we would be toned out for. Yeah. So, yeah, we're hoping that there's not a lot of teams in the nation that is doing this program. Definitely here in the state of Kentucky, we think Louisville has a program. Lexington has a program similar to what we're doing. But other than that, especially the rural areas like Boyle County, there's not a lot in the nation. So we're kind of leading the way right now.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. We
All
appreciate
right,
it.
now. Next item on our agenda is a banner request in recognition of Mental Health Month. Is there a motion to approve the banner request recognizing Mental Health Month, the importance of it?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
second here.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. The next item is a banner request from the Great American Brass Band Festival. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the request.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of this banner request say aye.
Aye.
And speaking of banners, you all notice the banners being hung by some colleges in honor of their graduation? Pretty neat on that side of town. Okay, next item is proclamation for National Police Week. Commissioner Peak, you going to read that for us?
I will.
Thank you, ma'am.
Proclamation National Police Week. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officer Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the City of Danville play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the City of Danville and its citizens. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that the members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding lives and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the law enforcement agency of the city of Danville unceasingly provide a vital public service, now therefore it be resolved that Mayor J.H. Atkins and the city commissioners of the city of Danville do hereby upon all patriotic, civic, and education organizations to observe the week of May 12th through the 18th, 2024 as National Police Officer Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities and, in doing so, have established themselves as enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Furthermore, Mayor J.H. Atkins and the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville call upon all citizens of Danville to observe May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes in a ceremony at Bellevue Cemetery, May 15th at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll accept your,
Accept the proclamation.
thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting this proclamation, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Proclamation carries. Next on the agenda is a Kurt Fergus presentation by Commissioner Siri. Okay, sir. And he went traveling to Hawaii, then to New York, then he went on to Kurt Fergus while he was there. Didn't ask me. Yep, didn't take any of us with him, though.
Just a little less than a month ago, April 16th, 22 folks representing the city of Danville went to Ireland to be immersed in their culture and to see the sights. But the focal point was to go to our sister city, Carrickfergus. We visited the castle, and then we had lunch with the mayor there. Her name, Geraldine Mulvaney. And we also had 2 of the 3 exchange musicians that came over here do music for us. And thirdly, Ryan Moffett showed up, and he's the person that comes here every summer and works the West T Hill to put on Shamrock. So he did a cappella Carrickfergus, that's the name of the song. So in that, I presented to the mayor a letter from our mayor, and I distributed pins and pens, and she, if you'll allow me, offered these back to you, my fellow commissioners.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. That's cool.
So those are official lapel pins with Carrickfergus. Additionally, well, before I move on, I almost forgot. There was one more presentation, and that was by Mr. Caudell Bruce, who also presented her with a poster from the mayor. And so she took front and center and did that. So in return, she says, I want you to take this nice plaque. It has their crest on it to City Hall to be displayed as their sister city. And so it says Mid and East Antrim, the borough of. So I will pass that either to the mayor or the city manager as you wish.
Thank you, sir. It's neat.
What was the poster that we gave them? Was it
I can't remember, what was it, Brad?
It was the puzzle we used for the streetscape.
Oh, okay.
So she had to put it together eventually, right?
Yeah. She was very appreciative, gave Bruce a hug, and we had a nice little get-together at a place called Oni's Restaurant, downtown Carrickfergus.
Bruce always gets a hug, you know, that's Bruce,
What's
right?
the oldest pub in?
Uh-oh.
The oldest pub in Dublin is in Athlone, and it's called Sean's. But that's a separate trip and a separate story that I won't talk about.
That's next time. That's next time.
That's cute. Why don't you set it right there in front, yeah, so everybody can see it for, we'll set up right there. All right, good job. Thank you, Mr. Siri. And we're happy that you made it back. Okay, next item is approval of the minutes. Chair would like to entertain a motion to approve our minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for 4:19 special call meeting, 4:22 our regular commission meeting, 4:25 special call meeting, 5:2 and 5:9 special call meeting as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. So 4 sets of minutes. Is there a motion to approve all 4 as presented?
It's 5.
5 sets? 5 sets of minutes, okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Donna Peak made the motion.
Oh,
Get
she
ready
did?
for
Oh,
a
did
second.
you? Oh, is there a second?
Oh, second.
I'm sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I thought you were still reading the proclamation. All right, let's move along. Resolution 2004-05-1301, KLC Training Agreement, Mr. Randy Boyd.
All right, thank you, Mayor. In front of you have an agreement here for training services on the topic of First Amendment auditors with KLC. It'd be a live training session for city staff. And the purpose of the training is just to, this is a very unique topic, but it's something we want to teach our staff on the awareness of first, the obligations and privileges and rights of First Amendment auditors and how to work with those in the exercise of your duties of public service. And so the total cost of that is $280. It's a live session, tentatively scheduled for March 21st here at City Hall.
May?
May 1st, yeah, sorry, May.
May
Yeah.
21st?
May 21st, yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. He said March, did he?
I did.
Okay. Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2024-05-1301.
Thank you, ma'am. Second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Boyd. All those in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Ashley Rader, next one is 2024-05-1302, cemetery deed correction.
Yes, so in 1983, Miss Betty Christensen purchased some graves from Robert Downey, who owned the Danville Monument Company. And per our deed, city has the first right to purchase graves back from other people. And we cannot find any records of that happening. And Mr. Downey it appears that Mr. Downey conveyed these graves to Miss Christensen. And so we're just asking for a resolution to correct that and let the city issue a deed, because in our lot holders books, it is showing that Ms. Christensen owns those graves.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-05-1302.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on this one? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Well, next item is, should we skip the next item? City manager report?
Yep.
Mr. Coffey, city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We did not have Kinder Morgan or team leaders show up tonight because it had rained quite a bit, and we just respected the cost to get them here. We do want to give an update for you. They did reach agreements on some construction plans to repair the roadway last week. They anticipate the encroachment permit process taking a couple more weeks to finish that up. Currently, they are projecting to be finished with the roadway and having it open with 6/17 by 6/17, June 17th. That's going to be dependent, obviously, on the weather. And so we will just continue to answer their questions as they come for us and try to keep pressure on the situation as best we can to keep that moving forward. Do you have any questions about that? We do anticipate them coming at the next meeting, representative of the gas company being here.
So the encroachment permit is the issue that they're waiting on, or that's, and the weather?
A big piece of it, some of the investigation that was necessary, it was all tied to the weather and that kind of thing. They had to do some material testing and some things like that to find out what the construction plans look like. I think they settled on what they wanted to do to repair the backfill that was left around the gas line last week. I think they concluded that process fully. And so now I think they're looking at June 17th being done now, given that starting point. But they'll be here in 2 weeks, so hopefully we'll know more by then.
Okay.
We do have a bunch of dates. The next regular commission meeting is the 13th of May. We do have budget meetings on the 23rd and the 30th scheduled, and then a regular commission meeting on the 28th. Memorial Day, of course, being the 27th, that Monday, City Hall's closed. The other things, and I appreciate Melanie for bringing it to my attention, the graduations, we do want to mention that Center College is having its graduation May 19th. The Danville School and Boyle County High School are having their graduations May 24th. There is a gallery hop on the 30th downtown, and the Great American Brass Band Festival is the 30th through the 1st, and the picnic right now is scheduled for June 1st. The Michael Smith grand reopening has kind of migrated to June the 8th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There will be events. The ribbon cutting will be at 11. There will be food from the Danville Boyle County Parks and Rec. Michael Fly will be live music, and the splash pad is slated to be open.
Is that a Saturday?
That is a Saturday.
Okay,
yes,
and
sir.
the time was 11?
11 to 3 p.m., but the ribbon cutting will be at 11.
Okay.
Also, we would like to note that the Boyle County Fair is scheduled for June the 8th through the 15th. We have met with the school districts on the facility use agreement. We'll continue to follow up on that. I don't want to just leave that hanging, but I do anticipate that taking a while, like I said before, and that you do have 2 new superintendents, and so we want to respect their process that they establish. Special activities, the audit is ongoing, the 23 audit. We are talking about facilities tours. Ashley, do you want to try to finish setting that up, I guess, for the week?
Yes, so I'm available to give those tours Monday, May 20th, or Wednesday, May 22nd. If you want to participate, if you can shoot me your availability, that way I can get those planned out. If we need to do 2 separate days, we can, but just let me know your best availability, and I will work that out.
And we can do more days in the future, but that's just the first 2 days that we had available.
The times. It
I'm
doesn't matter.
available all day.
I don't know.
The last one we did took all day, but I would anticipate a lunch break somewhere in there because we didn't do one the last time, so it made for a really long day. So whatever your all's availability is, if you want to just shoot me some times or some suggestions. That way I can let the department heads know that you all are coming. That way they can be prepared to give those tours as well.
Okay.
Okay, now we want to take a moment and talk about the budget process a little bit, partially because we're losing this week because of the other activities that were going. We had to cancel the meeting this week. So we want to come back to the community agency discussion. We've had a chance to look at your all's numbers that were shot our direction. And we took those are the spreadsheet. It's 11 by 17 on your desk. That's the numbers on the screen. I know they're very small to read, but on the far right is what we considered a baseline recommendation, looking at all the numbers that, our interpretation of the numbers that was given. Now, that's what I suggested based on those numbers. So that could change, yeah, I totally agree. We're asking you to, we're dropping this in to see what impact it has on the overall budget position that we were in last week. If you'll recall, we had about a $46,000 surplus that resulted after we made certain assumptions for these agencies. Well, now that we have these numbers, we want to update the spreadsheet. When we plug these numbers in that were part of this baseline recommendation, our surplus actually went down to $11,921. So we're still sitting at a balanced budget with these funded at the levels that were identified. So then from here, we still would like to answer the question about how we, some outlying questions. We know we need to address the funding for two police positions, one fire position. There were some administrative changes that were requested. We can't do that with the surplus that's sitting there, but this does fund the operating budget, and it funds the agencies as presented. So now, path forward. Over the next week, we can revisit the allocations that's on this sheet. You can, as you look at those over the next few days, you can come back and refine those. Those are the numbers that resulted from your all's initial reactions, I guess. The original spreadsheet that produced the $46,000 number had, for example, the funding for the EDC at last year's number of 100. I think the average came in at 150 from you all, or the recommendation came in at 150 after I looked at it. The other agencies, some of the agencies were fully funded, some of them were not. Some of them were, the new ones didn't get funded, for example, and you should be able to discern those descriptions as you go through there. And so I guess an initial question would be, what direction do you all want to go in? Do we need to try to figure out how to fund the police officer positions? I mean, what are we going to do next? I mean, where do we go from here? What direction do you all want to go in?
I think your idea of letting us review them one more time and come back with sort of our final, and then we can figure out.
Well, I did
How to
want to
get where we're
present
going.
this, and so there it is, and this is in your packet too. So it did impact your budget surplus. You really can't do a lot with that surplus. We would consider that balanced, essentially balanced. In terms of the reserve, there was a little bit of question on what the fund balance should be. I think Donna was the one that asked correctly quite a bit of questions about it because it had been a little bit since she had looked at it. In 2018, the fund balance was moved to 25% of the operating budget plus debt service. That was, as best as Lee and I could discover, that was on the recommendation of accounting professionals. I don't really know, don't really have the granular information about what that search, where that originated, or what that was tied to. It moved from 20% to 25% in 2018. The cities, for example, Bowling Green, Owensboro, Henderson, the cities that we could easily identify what that policy was, had it somewhere between 20 and 25%. If you lower it to, say, 23%, it generates about $200,000 per percent. Yeah. So if you go all the way down to 20%, and we can have this available at the next meeting, but I wanted to get it in your all's minds for tonight. If you go all the way down to the 20% number, which was the old number, you're going to end up with about $1.1 million to fund, you're going to end up Yeah, with $1.1 million to fund capital, what we consider operating capital. The big capital like pool, that would be debt service, so that's not in this category. This is trucks and equipment, computers, all those things that were identified as operating capital. You got about $1.78 million in request of those things. So it doesn't fully fund that with cash. However, of that 1.7 million, there's the purchase of that fire truck is $841,000. So we could pull that out of there and look for different ways to finance that. A lot of people finance those trucks now because they do have a long life, and they are a huge cost, lump sum cost. So you're gonna be able to cover the operating capital less that fire truck, and then you're going to end up with about $200,000 extra in unassigned, unallocated funds for that next year, if you pull it down from 25% back down to the 20% number. Again, that was increase happened in 2018, and certainly that was your all's call to raise it at the time, and it would be your all's call to lower it below the 25% number. Most communities have 3 months minimum in reserve. That's about what that 20% number, 25% number represents.
So we'll get numbers on that from Lee and you at the next meeting, maybe.
We have them. I wanted her to do a little bit more of a deep dive, and she wanted to herself, into making sure that that we had peeled out the capital correctly from the reserve amount, the depreciation, things tied to that were restricted and unrestricted. So that's not all the cash you have. You do have some unrestricted monies some restricted monies that aren't in this balance, right? So, I would like to, just philosophically, I want to make sure I communicated that, and make sure that as I communicate that, does that bit of information start to answer some of the questions if we do a deeper dive in that direction that y'all had last week? So we know kind of what the baseline community, when we look at all your ideas, we know what the baseline community allocations do to your fund balance. You're still balanced. You know, you're not upside down at all, so you're still balanced. Understanding that we would, in looking at the next slide, which is some of your employee data, I'll show you next. I do think it should be a priority, and it would not be wise of me not to recommend it being a priority to getting those officer and firefighter positions back.
Right.
That should be a priority, and I'll show you why here. So when we're looking at those, this is, and Randy did a great job with this, and I'm going to ask him to step in if I say something incorrect. But he put this together real quick. This is not a kind of this is just looking at the raw information on your employee count. The total number of employees is about 180. The first batch of numbers on the far left where it says CERS eligible, currently today in those departments identified above, those are the employees that could retire, right? So on the police side, you have 7 police officers that are CERS eligible for retirement and could retire. You have 5 in the fire department that are CRS eligible. Then you have 5 in the water utility. So then there's some others that are Social Security eligible that are not CRS eligible per se. There is 2 in the water utility that are Social Security age ready to, that could retire. So what does that mean then? In the fiscal year 25 that we are going into the year with the knowledge that you could have 7 police officers retire, you could have 5, and these folks have not put us on notice that they're retiring, by not yet necessarily. You have 7 police officers, 5 firefighters, 6 total water utility folks water sewer that could leave and retire. As we migrate into the next fiscal year, so as of July 1st, 2025, you would end up with the next batch of columns, that would be the fiscal year 26 eligible. You would end up still with 7 police officers, but you would pick up 2 more firefighters. You would pick up 2 dispatch members that would be eligible for retirement. Then you would add another 2 utility staff that could retire, and you would have 4 non-hazardous positions that would be eligible for CERS retirement. So you see the problem is getting worse as we go with just your aging into the retirement window. The next year, which would be beginning July 1st, 2026, for the fiscal year 2027, you're going to see a big jump with 9 police officers, 8 firefighters, 2 dispatchers, 9 utility, and 5 non-hazardous.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to lose, or you have the risk of losing 33 of your 180 employees in 3 years to retirement.
Yeah.
Can we eliminate retirement? Is that a possibility?
Do I now?
Can we eliminate retirement?
I don't know what you're going to do. You know that, you deal with it every year, but when you want to look at it in a quantifiable way, there's positions that it 100% makes sense to overhire. We've talked about that at the water plant, for example. We tried to add some operators there a couple of years ago, but for every department it impacts, and it does affect the outcome of service you're providing. So that's something to think about when we're talking about funding the community agencies at the level you do. For example, 100%, that's money that can go towards the salaries because that's competing for operating dollars. 100%, all of it.
Hey, Earl.
Yes.
Oh, can I add just one thing, just I thought? So one, on the cluster on the right is your retirees. Those are individuals that have already retired. So we have 5 in water utilities and 3 in police and 1 non-hazardous. Those are in addition to the bar chart of the 3 years. So those 9 key positions could retire basically, essentially at any point in time on top of what we're already showing you through that 3-year progression.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. I don't know why I didn't even.
I mean, I think that's why, I mean, me personally, I think it's important that we look and listen to our staff who last week said, we need these
Yeah.
people to be safe, to keep Danville safe. And then the water, I don't think we touched on a lot, but, I mean, you look at the water plant and how many total employees do you have?
The water plant, I'm going off memorization, I think of roughly between 9 to 10, but realistically, a big part of those retirees on the right are coming out of the water plant in and
Right.
of itself.
So, I mean, and it takes a long time for each one of those positions to be certified or get in the loop. So even overhiring, if you put it in, you might spend half of the salary for a year versus what you're, I just think we have to think about that.
And that's a good point, because and we talked about this at the last meeting, with water utilities, as you look at that bar chart, it was really telling to me how that number just keeps trickling up. We've been fortunate with our compensation package on police and fire to recruit laterals, right? There's a finite group out there, but there's even less of a group on the water utility side. Yes, if you hire a recruit on police and fire, you're realistic 1 to 2 years to get them through the system. You're talking approximately 5 years to get someone to the class 4 level, unless, of course, you have somebody that can substitute education or military experience for water treatment or wastewater. But that utility number is one that doesn't get talked about a lot, and it's really telling when you look at that graph, because it's not simply, hey, let's plug in a trainee, replace that class 4. That's 5 years of knowledge that you've got to build out, and we're in a critical state on the water utility industry right now.
Yeah, so we should try to figure out a way to, so when these positions retire, you're freeing up revenue, we know that. But that doesn't fully fund overhiring, that just replaces them at that moment. When they retire, a lot of times you're going from a senior employee down to an entry-level employee unless you're getting a lateral. Usually that results in a net variance that replenishes the fund sum. But what I've been trying to get and this conversation really helps me figure out how to communicate it, and which is why I'm glad Randy just did this baseline chart, and I'm glad you all asked us to do it. I think Randy and I have got to spend some time to figure out what what the money would look like for that overhiring, for that transition process, and how that cash flow would happen, that's complicated. And looking at it like this is a beginning point for trying to figure out how to analyze that from me and Randy. I know we looked at it today, and this is just how far we got. So I don't know. We have to continue to work on that. And I think it is important that before we finalize the budget this year, you got to make a decision on those 3 employees that's currently missing, that are, it's not that they're not allocated necessarily, they're just not funded. And so can we fund those 3 positions? We know that the community survey said that public safety and water utility, the utilities, those are the 3 categories of highest priority. And so it's difficult to look at, how you're allocating that money if you go into it knowing you're deficient in those things. That's a hard recommendation, right? Certainly from me after we look through the community services. So it's something to think about. I don't necessarily know what the solution is.
At the last meeting, we talked about being 2 police officers behind. And somewhere in my mind, it stuck that we were 3 firefighters.
I wanted 3 first.
Yeah, the firefighter is more complicated. It's not that you're behind. We're down 1 position,
Yeah.
but for them to continue to do what the process was for example, the way we're doing emergency response now, you need 2 more officers to fully staff some of those shifts, right? And so Randy did this slide. I do want to put it up there, but it communicates what he just said. I was adding the numbers up, but we had them added up. But this is just an improved slide. So like he said, we currently have 9 retirees that came back to work that could leave tomorrow. You're going to, by 2027, you could lose 33 people plus the 9. So you're at risk of about 42 employees, 72 immediately. 17 immediately. So we'll continue to refine how we look at that, and please contact us if you have any real hard direction that you want to give us, and we'll certainly try to incorporate that into our thinking and see how that impacts us.
So could you a request then. Can you bring back to us what it would cost us if we hired 2 additional police officers? And then if we hired 2 additional firefighters? And then I guess the 5th one on my mind is that we need to hire somebody at the water treatment plant.
Maybe overhire.
Well, that'd be 5 positions, or what would something like that look like? And then, really make it hard on you and Leah is bring back the cost factor, but also bring back some recommendations about where we might be able to cut to be able to afford to do it. I know one commissioner has a suggestion about how to raise some additional funds, and I don't think we're ready to bring that out tonight, I don't think, but there's been some talk amongst us individually about some ways to raise some more revenue. Okay, so that would be my request.
Yeah, we need to sit down with the department heads and look at, make sure we know, not just hiring certifieds, but what type of, do you want to, we don't want to be junior heavy or senior heavy, or you want to have a freshman, probably a junior, probably maybe even a sophomore. You want to get different age groups as you go, so that still you're trying to keep a.
So they won't all hit the chart at the same time,
Yes,
that's right.
yeah,
Yes.
that's my point. Right.
I agree.
Oof.
Mayor.
It doesn't do us any good to take a lateral that can retire in 2 years, because that just is going to add a 34th person up there.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree with the mayor too, not just the 2 police and 1 fire to break even again. I think we need to get the costs of a few additional, after hearing from the police chief and the fire chief about what's coming in the water department.
Yeah, it's definitely, I know that Tony and the chief, Simpson, had the floor the other day, but it's 100% something that is a concern for the water utility. Yeah.
Does that complete your report?
I think it does. I think it was a good discussion just for tonight.
Okay. Well, I have 25 minutes left, right? That's what I was told. No, I'm just joking. Okay. Next on our, thank you, Mr. Coffey, and thank commissioners for participating. Next on our agenda is hear the public. Is anyone here desiring to speak to the public, items that may or may not be on the agenda? I mean, that are not on the agenda, I'm sorry. And identify yourself, and we'll give you 3 minutes, and we'll listen to you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm
How'd you get-
Janet Hamner,
How'd you get up there so quick?
citizen and business owner.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk to you about crime on the corner of 2nd and Main.
Is that on?
Is it not on?
Is it on?
It's on.
Okay, all right.
It's on. Did everybody hear me? Okay. I came in Monday morning and went in the front door of my business, unlocked it and went in. That worked. That was fine. But then I tried to go out the door about an hour later, put something in the trash can out back in that alleyway that I have behind the building. And I couldn't unlock the door, the padlock of the deadbolt. I finally got it open. Sometime over the weekend, somebody had taken some kind of cement substrate stuff and packed it into the lock. I had to dig it out. I finally got that one working. I went down to the other one, down to the door, back door closer to Main Street. I've never been able to dig it out and get it working. And it was a wet something that streaked the door, and now I've got this concrete stuff going down the door, and there's a puddle of stuff at the bottom where they dripped. Well, all that's bad enough, but that's on me, and I can fix that. This other thing is on me too, but I'm not sure now exactly how I'm going to fix it. Today I discovered that I guess when they finished what they did to my locks, they took the residue or what was left in there of their material in a can, they threw it on the Bunny Davis mural. And now I've got these big white concrete streaks on the mural. I'm not asking you to do anything about that. I'll get some men up there with ladders and we'll get it cleaned off. But I just wanted to let you know that stuff like that does go on. And you tend to think it's not going to go on and not going to happen to me because it never has happened before, but here we are.
That's right.
So,
Wow. Well, again, thanks for sharing that with us, ma'am. Wow. Mr. Chandler? Oh, I thought you. Anyone else? Ms. Calhoun, you coming up? All right, well, you got, come on, young lady. Come on down.
I happened to be driving yesterday. My name is Margaret Calhoun, forgot. And check out the park, Michael M. Park, Memorial Park. And this couple that lived over on J.E. Woods was telling me it was some young boys. They had something white and they was sprinkling it over to the slide, the new sliding board. Then they was putting leaves over her, stacking them up. And she said, I could cry. And she thought they was gonna set them on fire. I don't know if somebody come up and they ran off or what. But I did see they leaves was still up there. So I told the boss that was over them guys working yesterday that I was gonna call the police. I said, you need to report it. So the police came down there, I guess he's, Lieutenant Ray, his last name was Ray, and another policeman. So they had a police car parked down there with the lights on, cameras on, just in case they come back, but you know they ain't gonna come back after they see that car. Yes, and they need some cameras down there, and you can catch them, because they probably was getting ready to set it on fire. It might be the incident she was having, you never know. Some of the schools out and they ready to you know, do anything. You don't know if they're on drugs. That's why I wanted that splash down there, to give them an opportunity to go somewhere to keep them off them streets. But some of them you can't. I had a cousin just pass, and it was his problem. I mean, it's sad. But something need to be done.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That's my 3 minutes up.
Well, it's summer starting, but we hope we can get out in front of it. But thank you, both of you ladies, for sharing that with us. Anyone else? Okay. Commissioner comments? Here now, we'll go. Oh, Commissioner
I just want to
comments?
say, I went to the downtown concert last week, downtown Downbeat. It was really
Downbeat.
nice. I saw Commissioner Sayers down there. It was a nice event, so, for Danville. A lot of kids up there, you know, dancing with the music, so.
Did you dance?
I didn't.
No. Any other commissioners?
Yeah, it was a great community event. It's always encouraging to me that some of these organizations that ask for money also work for it. So the pickleball tournament, sponsored by Parks and Rec and Grace Cafe, was a huge success. I went over to it. They were totally packed. And then this Saturday coming up, Haven Care will have a 5K at Millennium. So it's nice to see those groups getting out and working also for their money.
That's right, yes, sir. Someone else? All right. Errol took all the thunder with all the graduations, well, let's go on then. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the payment of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion to pay the bills as presented. Boy, he's got it slow tonight, don't he?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented in the amount of $1,530,627.56.
Second.
Thank you both. Are there any additions, deletions, any questions?
Donna does real good on her numbers. Bet you can cipher too, can't you?
Hearing none, all those in favor of paying the bills as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Motion carries. Okay, we come down to the Josh Morgan show now. Oh, man, maybe I should just skip him too, right? All right, Josh, number 12.
All right, we'll move quick tonight. Thank you all. The first item is the change order number 2 at Michael Smith Park. This is a few things, a few small items that we need to kind of clean up as the project's getting wrapped up. Most of them are changes that we as staff have requested through the project. The total is $23,275. It includes, we didn't accept the alternate of the plaza there at 2nd and J. Wood, so we had to add some sidewalk back in, so that's part of it. And we found out, real quickly, we found out where the new sewer line's gonna go in phase 2 of the sewer project is gonna take out a lot of that area that we were gonna build in, so it was a good thing that we didn't award that alternate at the time. So we've got some sidewalks in now to make it work, but we'll come back later after that sewer project and finish it out. We relocated the electrical panel. If you go into the digging the documents, we relocated it twice because we just couldn't find the right spot that wasn't blocking views from the road and the signage. So that's one of the items in there. They were willing to do that for us for reasonably the first time, but the second time we asked, they hit us with a change order. But we need to. It's one of those things we needed to get right the first time because it's going to be there for many years to come. We had previously bought the materials we worked with the Rotary Club to buy the rock for the rock walls, but we didn't include the limestone caps in that purchase, so that wasn't in the contract, so we need to come back and add limestone caps for the rock walls. And then the original layout, when we go down and look at the new playground, once it's completed, you'll see there's planter areas next to the poured rubber, and there wasn't a curb in between them. The poured rubber just went into the grass area, and we asked that be separated by a concrete header curb just for maintenance issues. So we added a header curb in there. That totaled $23,275. Stephen, can I add an item to this list at this time? Would that be appropriate?
You can.
Okay, we got a price Friday. There's a couple of planter areas at the splash pad. There's bench areas and garbage cans, and then they were going to have a mulched area with a tree in it. Once we saw the final layout and the lay of the splash pad, we thought those areas were going to be a maintenance issue for us with mud as the kids were coming off and on and off of it and getting mulch onto the splash pad. So we actually asked for a price from our playground sub on the project to put artificial turf in those areas. We think that'd be a nice, soft texture that the kids can go over to off of the splash pad, and it won't be a maintenance issue for us. And they gave us a price of $8,900 to do that, to add that item. And I think it's money well spent for us for a long time from a maintenance standpoint to add that $8,900. So that'll bring the total, real quick math, $31,275. So $32,175 would be the total of this change order. And we recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2024-051303 with the addition of the turf for a new total of $32,175.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Josh, you have the next one as well, Safe Streets?
Yes, these implementation grants for the Safe Streets for All program, those applications are due this Thursday. This was the Vision Zero plan that we did. This is a project that came out of that we're partnering with KYTC. You have the narrative, a draft narrative in your packet that describes the project a little further. We'll have a whole design process if we get awarded the grant, but the main goal of the project will be to do innovative improvements to the intersections along the southern portion of the bypass pretty much from the railroad tracks to Ghost Pike, because those are the high-ranking intersections that are dangerous in Danville. KYTC is partnering with us on this project. It's their roads, so they're willing to be a partner with us. And a lot of the plan came out of their safety study they did for the corridor study between Danville and Stanford that was completed earlier this year. So the total project, the total estimated project cost is $15,330,000. It's an 80-20 grant, so we're requesting $12,260,000 from FHWA. The KYTC has agreed to provide a match of $2,570,000, and the city will just provide a match of $500,000 to show we're participating in the project. So tonight we're asking to apply for this grant. If the project goes, we probably won't begin in earnest on it until probably early 2025. So from a budgeting standpoint, it's not going to have a big impact on our budget in particular in this fiscal year, but next fiscal year it will. So we're just asking tonight approval to apply. And this will be one of the grants that Earl and I discuss with officials this week as we go to DC.
Is there a motion? Wow, big numbers.
Big numbers.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-051304.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Questions? Comments?
Thank you for applying or trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that our portion is the smallest, so that's.
Yes, it was great of KYTC to participate with us, which they've done with other cities. Lexington and Louisville have gotten this grant previously, and if the work's done on state roads, they're usually willing to participate with the match.
Okay, do we have a motion already? We do have a motion in a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Josh, the last one.
Yes, we've throughout the renovation project of J.D. Rogers, one of the items that we didn't include in the project was the roof. It was previously done around 2000. We were trying to get the roof to hang on a little bit longer, but as we've gone into this spring, we've had a few leaks get worse. There's two particular areas on the area that the child care center will be leasing from us that just last week, we had a real issue with it during those rains. So we've been working with roofers to try to come up with a plan. We've had several people on the roof. Finally met with a roofing company a couple weeks ago that did a full analysis. They cored the roof. They gave us a report, and they gave us a proposal to repair that area that we're having issues with on the child care side. And we have a couple leaks on the Parks side that we can deal with later. They're not quite as bad. But they give us a proposal, and so with the proposal was to repair the roof, remove and repair the roof. It would be the north classrooms along that Main Street wing. So you're kind of looking at 1/4 of the classrooms. The proposal was for $74,292, which actually was quite a bit less than I anticipated, considering the tear off that's going to be required, because there's several layers of roof that they've been put on over the years. This exceeds our $30,000 limit that we need to bid. But due to the school, they're looking to open late June. They're already starting to move furniture in. I'm requesting that we be able to go ahead and accept this proposal and proceed with procurement as an emergency purchase to get the roof leaks stopped.
What say you, Mr. City Attorney?
The resolution in your packet reflects the findings necessary for you to deem it an emergency purchase.
Thank you, sir. So is there a motion?
I'll move to accept resolution number 2024-05-1305.
Second? Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Chief Gray.
Yes, I think you'll have in your packet, I think this is for the third, the SRO for KSD. I don't have my packet in front of me, I apologize. But I believe this is for the third KSD SRO. We would continue with that. Their contract, as we have with the first two SROs, advertised for a retired officer, and you see there the totals for the SRO revenues there. So it's somewhere around, that number is not a fixed number because we never really know how much overtime those officers are going to use at KSD, but it's usually somewhere around 65,000, but that's not including, that's just for the normal, and then the other 20 or so thousand, they just throw in there really, depending on how much the overtime is.
Okay.
So they kind of pay about $80,000 to $88,000, and like I said, it just depends on what the exact overtime amount is. But we've yet to go over about $70,000, I believe, is what we spend.
So KSD through the state funding pays for all of that?
They pay for somewhere around 40 to 48,000. I think we cover about 25,000.
Okay. Any other questions to Chief?
So this is for the two officers that you currently have, is what it says. I think that's what I'm understanding, but
Is this the two or just the three?
Three, no.
This is just for the two, I guess, yes.
yeah.
We
That you
are,
already
we
have.
are negotiating with them for the third officer, yes.
They're trying to get 24/7, 7 days a week?
Yes, they want 24/7 since they are campus.
Yeah, okay. Well, so is there a motion?
I move for approval of resolution 2024-05-1306.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments? Chief, questions and comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Can I ask a question? I ask it afterwards. But, so each one costs the city about 88,000? Or they're reimbursing us as 88,000 per year?
They reimburse us roughly $88,000. It usually costs us about $25,000 per officer.
Right?
The 88 is usually just covers they're part of the salary plus any overtime.
So you got to keep in mind what the email I sent you, KSD is the same thing, except they're owned by the state. The state sets essentially the terms of the contract. So the illusion that that's a cost that is to be borne by the school exclusively is not an accurate depiction of that. You are required to provide police services for all the schools regardless if they give you money, okay? So I think that aspect alone is not understood. If you have crime, Ms. Hamner is pointing out, across the street essentially from KSD, we have crime that the police are supporting her when she files a complaint. The same thing on the opposite side of the street happens when someone on a school campus files a complaint. The city police, we have to investigate that matter. We have to allocate resources towards that. What the state legislature did was wanted to do was to affirm permanently, yes, we will have police coverage. Who will it be? We want a certified police officer there because of the various issues of violence that erupt on campus. We want that protection closer to it, and we want to require the schools to contribute some portion of those expenses to guarantee they're there. It is not designed to be a profit center for police agencies or a cost burden exclusively on the schools because it's the same taxpayer paying the local bill, right? We are required to provide this police officers to provide protection at those schools no matter what. So this is the schools giving the community back out of those allocation of resources because it is an increase in labor cost. So this is somewhat of the compensation for that increase. Does that make sense? So what it amounts to is for us to provide our general services at KSD, we're going to spend about $25,000. Well, now they want extra services. They want them there all the time, so they're paying the extra 48 or whatever that number was. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like every school, it's the same
It's the
in
same
Danville for every
policy,
school we
the
do.
same approach
or
for
we
every school.
Protect.
So the retirees draw a salary of $60,000. KSD pays a base salary. They pay us a base salary of $40,000 for each SRO. That's on the retired system. So that extra $8,000 or $4,000 per officer is a variable amount because that $4,000 covers overtime. You know, like if they have a prom, for example, those officers will go and work prom. That's not counting, you know, their 8-hour shift duties. If they have a basketball game.
To the chief's point, it doesn't matter if they're having a ball game and we have to go out there and police it anyway. That's not something we do not have the ability to vacate that responsibility. That is a community event that we have to police. In the same way, when the fair board has the fair in a few weeks, we're going to be out there with countless police officers providing that security service because that's what the responsibility is. So I think a lot of that it's very hard. I think that gets lost in conversation because we perceive those school districts as separate agencies, and they are, but really they're not. It's the same taxpayer paying those bills, right? So what the legislature did was try to create some sort of balance so that the cities and local governments didn't bear all the cost of protection in our tax rates because we're dealing with water, sewer, streets and roads, all these other things. And so it pulls some of the resources, some of the allocation from the school's taxes and dedicates it for that security service that is supposed to be enhanced because the legislature said so. And I know that's a philosophical thing that I think police agencies, school districts, local communities are having to react to because it was dictated, the characteristics of that service are described by the state legislature with no clear direction on how that cost burden is supposed to be spread. So I think it's still going to take a couple of years before that fully fleshes out. So in the meantime, we just try to do the best we can with what those agreements look like, what those costs, to the extent the schools can afford it. It's an unplanned allocation for them. They didn't have they're faced with the same, all their revenue essentially comes from property taxes, all their local revenue. They're faced with the same 4% compensating rate as the city commission and the fiscal court is, right? So there was no clear way to fully fund that cost burden on the local governments, no matter where you're at, right? And so to the credit of the school districts and the police agencies throughout the state locally here. They've arrived at formulas, and to the chief's credit, the creativity of bringing back retired officers to serve those shifts on a contract basis prevents them from hitting the retirement system again. It prevents them from having all those ancillary expenses that you do a full-time certified police officer. So that is the lowest cost way to do it because they are still a certified officer. They're just under contract versus a full-time in-house employee. So we'll be happy, if you've got questions about that, I would advise you to come back and we'll talk about that at length individually. It's not something that really presents well to city commission meetings just because there's so much, it's just it's a challenge.
The only comment I want to make is I think it's incumbent on us to remember that the delivery of essential services are often never meant to be net neutral. One of the grand tenets and provisions of government is the provision of safety and security. And in those elements, you will never receive a net revenue neutral position where there's the extension of police protection, fire protection, water delivery, whatever. There will always be costs that the city eats to deliver an essential service. And in a budgetary standpoint, that just has to be managed, but it will never be overcome.
Another good example of that approach is when the court system comes up with the requirement for the police agencies. And so I know he's monitoring the radio for purpose, but there's, from time to time, the courts say, you shall provide us this information through dispatch, or these things shall be codified as permanent records. They don't tell us, they don't provide, the state doesn't provide revenue for that. That's a loss that you're providing that service as the certified police agency to the court system because the state legislature said so, right? So that's part of operation. Having a certified police agency is a cost burden on your general fund, right? That's what you do. So it's never you're not going to get a return on that investment ever. It's not designed to be a return on that investment. It's not.
Well, the return on the investment is not dollars. It's the safety and security of the citizens. Like emergency medical dispatch, for instance. The city doesn't recoup that cost, but if lives are saved, then the essential service and the value is the life saved. So we put ourselves at a detriment if we view everything from a cost neutrality standpoint because it simply can't be achieved, but never was designed to be.
Yeah, and the same, so let me do a deep dive into this. I know you're tired of listening to it, but
Y'all done more than
finish just a little bit
necessary,
more.
right.
The idea of DCA, for example, being a private school, the state legislature does not care that they're a private institution. The same standard of security applies there as a public school, and the city has the same obligation to provide police and fire service for DCA as if they do Ms. Hamner's business or KSD's campus. It's the same burden. It's irrelevant and in fact, what the private sector schools, which is why you hear the debate in Frankfurt at the Board of Education, Department of Education, the private sector schools will argue that we contribute tax dollars, but don't get a return on that investment at all. We get no benefit for paying our taxes, which has been argued to be unconstitutional. And so when the legislature adds requirements to private schools, sometimes in this form it takes up security, but there's curriculum issues. There's all these things but a lot of those are heavy discussions that really aren't local discussions. We just are trying to deal with them. And that's just to be honest about it. That's how the correct reaction for us is to just manage through the process till the state decides whatever the next issue, how it's going to be resolved at a much different level than here locally because it's a Department of Education issue. The private school versus public school is a Department of Education issue. We're just trying to mitigate our way through it, manage our way through it.
Good discussion.
Yeah, and I just want to say
Is
that.
there a need for an executive session?
Yeah, we have a brief executive session if you take just a minute.
All right. This discussion started at 6:45, so y'all used up 15 minutes of the executive session time, so, okay. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Why are we going?
To get rid of the mayor?
Personnel.
Oh, shoot. I said the mayor. Okay. It's for personnel reasons, all right. So I'll give you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
I make a motion to go into
Okay.
executive session to discuss personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61810-1F.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Well, that heat got y'all slow tonight, man. Siri made the motion and Holland seconded. We're back in the regular session now.
Second.
And staff has a recommendation for us.
Yes, staff requests that you accept the resignation of Amarion Johnson from the maintenance worker at the park system, for the parks.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting this resignation, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you all. All those